What's up? What's up? It's your guy, the Sports Judge. Thanks for tuning in to the channel. There's a lot of talk about Caleb Williams and the Washington Commanders. I see a lot of people bringing up Caleb Williams. I see his name a lot surfacing nowadays. And the NFL draft is coming up in April. There's much dialogue that we've been having the last couple weeks regarding a trade for Caleb Williams. It's fun to have these conversations. Williams, in a lot of people's eyes, would be a slam dunk selection for the number one overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. But you guys know how I feel about it. I have mixed feelings about him. I don't really trust Caleb Williams enough to select him with the number one overall pick. I like Caleb, but I don't know if I'm leaning towards selecting him to be my quarterback. I mean, I truly don't know how I feel about that. I have a lot of questions about him. I have a lot of questions and concerns. And as someone who's seen a lot of Caleb Williams watching USC football religiously, I'm just lacking confidence in him. I don't have enough faith in him. This is not an attempt to discredit him because I know what he's capable of. I know what he's done. I watched enough to see what he can bring to a football team. I just don't think this is something I would entertain or approve of. Caleb Williams is talented, but he is not Patrick Mahomes. Can we please stop with those comparisons? You know, I think it's utterly insane to compare him to Patrick Mahomes, who has already won 3 Super Bowl titles. Now, I wish Caleb Williams all the best, and I really hope to see him excel at the next level. But as of right now, I'm not sure he's that guy. Is the talent there? Yes, absolutely. Does he have potential? He's clearly one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. No question he's immensely physically gifted, but he's a diva. He's a diva. And seeing him play, there were often times where I questioned his character. And I think a lot of other people have questioned his character as well. His body language showed disengagement at times, if you watch some games. And I think wherever he ends up, Washington, Chicago, a city he has already showed a lack of interest in, I think he will be a cancer to whatever NFL locker room he ends up in. Look, frankly, I think very few people, the talking heads, have a level of concern about him. And then there are other people that have their concerns about him and are saying the same things that I'm saying right now. I think I would rather draft a guy like Drake May or Jaden Daniels. But that's just me. No doubt the tools are there, but what good does that do any team if a player comes up or comes in with the unnecessary baggage and drama? I mean, the worst case scenario would be to draft a quarterback who is poison to a franchise. It's already a franchise that is in a vulnerable state right now, and the last thing they need is an immature quarterback who they hope to build around in the future. This is a guy who has already demanded so much. Said things like, I want part ownership of the team, and he wants to come in and make all these decisions. It don't work like that. It's not your franchise. You're just a quarterback. Be the quarterback. Work on your craft. Develop your game. This could be a complete and total disaster. Not having a franchise quarterback is what hinders the progress of a team. But if you choose a quarterback, which the Commanders probably will after bringing on board Cliff Kingsbury to be the OC, you got to choose wisely. You gotta be smart. in which quarterback you bring in. Don't select a guy in the draft who can set your franchise back 5 more years, but a guy who can be tremendously beneficial in the process. That's who you want. So, this belief that Caleb will be a franchise savior, make an immediate impact, or elevate an offense is an evasive statement. It's a very evasive statement. It's his antics, that pouty stuff, that only adds to my belief he may turn out to be a Golasso bust. And based on what I've seen, I believe he will disappoint a lot of people. I mean, I just don't think he is ready for the next level. I think, to me, he's mentally soft and plays small and big games. Caleb, without a doubt, has skill and versatility. No one is denying that. No one is denying that. I'm sorry, but his skill set is not the problem. And I'm not diminishing that. But I am not sold on a guy who could break down crying on the sideline if the game doesn't go his way. I just can't. I can't. I gotta see a guy who grows up. He has some growing up to do. But from an analytical perspective, Caleb Williams is definitely better than Drake May. But by a slim margin, But he's not so much better that you flip your number 2 pick to trade up for Williams. If you're the Commanders, there's already a lot to discuss, a lot to forecast about the future. Draft a quarterback no matter what. Draft a quarterback. They're in play for one. That's for sure. They're in play for a quarterback. But I think North Carolina's Drake May is better suited to be a starting quarterback in Washington in terms of disposition. Great teams build through the draft. So that means everything for Washington. With them being on the clock, having a chance to get a high pick, that means everything. Teams don't have the luxury, if you will, of selecting number 1 or number 2 often. The opportunity to select the best quarterback in the draft is rare. They have to get this right. The Commanders have to get this right. And just think, if they get that right guy in the draft, that could change the whole dynamic in Washington. If the Commanders are willing to give the Bears trade sheet value to go from 2 to 1, I think it is totally reasonable. Anyone who could tell you right now that Caleb Williams is on Washington's radar. Because we keep bringing up the fact that he is the most talented quarterback in this year's draft. But we don't know for sure if Caleb Williams is going to be Patrick Mahomes, which I think is a silly comparison. And we certainly don't know for sure if Drake May is going to be, Mitchell Trubisky, right? No one can know that right now. It's too early. These guys haven't played one down in the NFL yet. You have to give it time before you can evaluate. Aside from Caleb Williams' questionable attitude and leadership from a talent standpoint, Williams is probably the best quarterback prospect, I would say, since Trevor Lawrence, maybe since Andrew Luck, in terms of on-field performance and athletic tools and everything. But the red flags are there and can't be ignored. His red flags have jumped out. Elite arm talent, insane playmaking ability, too much of a headache, leadership and character issues. Those are the red flags right there. Those are the things that has me hesitant on giving him a chance to be that franchise quarterback. What happens if the team does badly and he can't handle himself and has a meltdown? We've seen it with him. So I'm not giving up anything when I'm sitting at number 2. Generational talent? Yeah, okay. Generational talent? This can also be a generational bust that sets you back for many years. I mean, I feel like May or even Jayden Daniels is the safer bet at this point. But again, that's just me. But if you're the Commanders, you also need 2 solid O-linemen because you need the protection up front. I mean, you could put any quarterback in Washington and they'll struggle because they don't have the protection. You also need a wide receiver, a tight end to complement Logan Thomas, maybe draft Brock Bowers. I don't know, get a tight end. Caleb Williams won't do any good without protection. And if he's there at 2, then maybe you take him. But don't give up draft capital for him. I just think that Caleb Williams, man, he has some growing up to do. And I just think that if you want to take the safe route, you draft a guy like Drake May or Jayden Daniels. Because statistically, Jayden Daniels had a great year at LSU. But everyone overlooks this guy because everyone talks about how talented Caleb Williams is. And everyone talks about how good Drake May is. But we need to be cautious here and look at the big picture. And usually the quarterbacks that we hype up are the ones that turn out to be busts. Just something to think about. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate the love and support. Don't forget to do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. We'll talk very soon. Peace.